You open the cabinet under the kitchen counter to put away the blender you just used, but its spot is occupied by the old blender you kept in case the new one breaks. Next to it are 6 empty jars, a bag of cables that no one can match to a device, and the box from something you bought 2 years ago. Since there is no room, you leave the blender on the counter and tell yourself that you will deal with it later. A few days later, the counter is crowded again, and you start thinking that you are simply not organized enough to keep your home tidy. But maybe the problem is not that you are lazy. Maybe the things you are keeping to protect yourself from an uncertain future are making your present life harder every day. Keeping something just in case sounds responsible. It makes us feel as though we are preventing waste, saving money, and preparing for unexpected situations. And sometimes that is completely reasonable. A backup flashlight has a clear purpose during a power outage. A clean set of sheets can make life easier when a child spills water in the middle of the night. A hard-to-find replacement part for an appliance your family still uses may also be worth keeping. The problem begins when just in case is no longer connected to a specific plan. Instead, it becomes the automatic answer for every item we are not ready to make a decision about. The item is no longer being used, but it is not allowed to leave either. It sits in a cabinet, on a shelf, or inside a box, waiting for a situation with no date, no plan, and sometimes no chance of ever happening. Each item may seem harmless on its own, but as these items accumulate, the things that support your life today are forced to stay outside. The things you use every week become harder to reach. You buy duplicates because you cannot see what you already own. And every time you open a cabinet, you have to deal with dozens of decisions that you previously postponed. A useful Japanese-inspired approach is to prioritize space for things that have a clear role in your current life, rather than trying to own as little as possible. We are going to look at 15 categories of items that are commonly kept under the label of just in case. We will also use a few simple tests to determine which items truly have a purpose and which ones are simply holding an unfinished decision. If you are looking for systems that make your home easier to maintain, rather than another list of chores, subscribe to The Quiet Home. Every video here is designed to help your home support your life more effectively. The first category is old equipment that remains after a newer version has replaced it. It might be an old phone in a drawer, your previous coffee maker, a vacuum cleaner with a weak battery, or a rice cooker that still works but that you no longer want to use. The reason for keeping these things sounds reasonable. The new one might break. You might need a backup one day. And because the old item is not completely broken, getting rid of it can feel wasteful. But look at how the item is actually being treated. Is it charged, cleaned, and stored somewhere you can access immediately? Or has it been pushed into the deepest corner of a cabinet, where it is missing a part and might take 15 minutes just to remember where you put it? A backup item that is not ready to use is not a backup plan. It is simply an old item that has not been dealt with. Choose one device that has already been replaced and ask yourself this question. If the new device stopped working tomorrow, would I genuinely use this one again? If the answer is yes, test the item, keep all the necessary accessories with it, and schedule a review date 3 or 6 months from now. If you already know that you would buy another device, borrow one temporarily, or simply refuse to go back to using the old one, pass it on to someone who can still use it while it retains some value. Your home does not need to store every previous version of the things you currently own. The second category is cables, chargers, and accessories that can no longer be connected to a specific device. They often live inside a bag or box that no one wants to open. There may be a cable from an old camera, an adapter from a previous generation of phones, a remote control that belongs to an unknown device, and several cords that look important enough to make you afraid to throw them away. We keep them because we worry that the moment we get rid of one, Some device will suddenly require that exact cable, but there is an invisible cost. Every time you need a charger that actually matters, you have to dig through a pile of unidentified objects. You do not need to spend an entire afternoon dealing with this category. Set a timer for 10 minutes and bring the devices you currently use close to the box of cables. Match each cable to a specific device. Cables with a clear purpose can be neatly coiled, given a simple label, and stored with the device or in one designated accessory area. Place anything you cannot identify inside a small bag and write the date on it. If no one looks for those items and no device is missing an accessory after 30 days, you will have more evidence to support your decision. The goal is not to guess and throw things away. The goal is to stop letting a box of nameless accessories occupy valuable space and make every search for a cable more difficult. The third category often takes up far more space than its actual value would justify. Product packaging. Phone boxes, headphone boxes, blender boxes, tool boxes, and the molded foam inside them are often kept for 3 reasons. You may need to return the product, you may move to another home, or you may sell the product in the future. Keeping the box during the return period is reasonable, but after that period ends, the box needs a new reason to remain in your home. Are you genuinely planning to sell the item in the near future? Is it an unusually difficult device to transport, making the original box truly useful? Or are you keeping the box simply because it looks too attractive and sturdy to throw away? Check the purchase date and the return policy before making your decision. For items that are past the return period, have no resale plan, and do not require special packaging for transportation, recycle the appropriate parts of the packaging. Most importantly, do not allow a large box to occupy a convenient location while the item you use every day has to sit on the floor or remain on the counter. The best space in your home should support activities that are happening now, not the packaging from a transaction that ended a long time ago. The fourth category is empty boxes, jars, and other containers. A glass jar might be useful. A beautiful box could hold something. A plastic takeout container could store leftovers. Because every item has a possible use, these containers are easy to keep without setting any limits. Then one day, you have a cabinet filled with empty containers, but you still cannot find the correct lid. Boxes fall out when you open the door. Small jars sit inside larger jars. And you are dedicating a significant storage area to things whose only current purpose is to wait for a purpose. This is where a physical boundary works better than willpower. Choose one shelf, one drawer, or one basket as the complete storage area for empty boxes and jars. Keep only the containers that have matching lids, are clean and undamaged, and come in sizes you actually use. When that area becomes full, you do not search for another cabinet. You choose the most useful containers and allow the extras to leave. The shelf becomes a natural boundary. You do not need to remember how many containers you own because the available space answers that question for you. This brings us to a test that can be applied to every backup item we have discussed so far. A just-in-case item should be able to answer 3 questions. What exactly does it replace? Is the situation in which you would need it realistic in your life? And when will you review the decision to keep it? An old coffee maker might replace your current one while the newer machine is being repaired. That is a specific purpose, but a 14th jar does not replace anything, has no plan for use, and has no review date. It offers nothing more than a vague possibility. Not every item needs a perfect plan, but when you do not know what it replaces or when you will need it, it may simply represent a delayed decision. The 5th category looks so environmentally friendly that we rarely recognize it as clutter. Reusable shopping bags. You bring home a new bag because you forgot the old ones. A store gives you another one. A different bag has a beautiful design, so you keep it. Before long, these bags appear in the trunk of the car, inside kitchen cabinets, near the entrance, and behind doors. The irony is that the more bags we have, the less likely we are to know where any of them are. When we go shopping, we still forget to bring them and end up buying another one. A better system is to keep a number of bags that matches 1 week of realistic use. Choose the bags that are sturdy, easy to fold, and pleasant to use. Keep a small group near the place where you normally leave the house and store a few in the car when that fits your routine. The remaining bags can hold donations, be passed on to other people, or be taken somewhere that can reuse them. The goal is not to eliminate something useful. The goal is to make sure that a useful item appears in the right place, in the right quantity, at the moment you need it. The first 5 categories are usually easy to recognize because they have a clear connection to function: equipment, accessories, packaging, containers, and shopping bags. But the things that occupy the most space are not necessarily the hardest things to release. More difficult are the items that are reserving space for a future version of yourself. The 6th category is clothing kept for a different version of your body, career, or lifestyle. It might be a pair of pants that fit you years ago, a suit for a job you no longer have, beautiful shoes that do not suit your current lifestyle, or clothing you bought because you hoped that one day you would become the kind of person who wore it regularly. These clothes are difficult to evaluate because they are not just pieces of fabric. They may represent a goal, a memory, or a promise you once made to yourself. As a result, every time you open your closet, you do not simply see a shirt you never wear. You see the version of yourself you believe you are supposed to become. The problem is not that your body has changed or that your preferences are different. The problem is that items designed for an imaginary life are making the clothes you actually wear harder to see, harder to reach, and harder to put away. Instead of asking, "Might I wear this again someday?" Use the current life test. During the next 90 days, will this item suit your body, schedule, weather, and the places you will realistically visit? If the answer is yes, keep it in an accessible area. If the item is connected to a specific goal, you may place it in a small box with a review date, but limit the size of that box. Do not turn your entire closet into storage for a life that has no clear plan. If an item only makes choosing your clothes more difficult each morning, you may remove it from the area you use every day. Your closet should prioritize the clothing that supports your present life. The 7th category is equipment for hobbies you have abandoned: watercolor supplies, candle making equipment, knitting tools, exercise equipment, baking molds, and boxes of craft materials often begin with excellent intentions. You imagine having a peaceful evening to create something. You purchase all the supplies you need to begin. You may even use them several times. Then work becomes busier, your schedule changes, or you realize that you do not actually enjoy the process. But the supplies remain. We often keep them because letting them go makes the project feel like a failure. Keeping them allows us to believe that the hobby is only temporarily paused. Over time, the box moves from the table to a cabinet and then to a high shelf. Something that once represented joy begins to feel like an unfinished obligation. A simple system is to dedicate active space to only 1 or 2 hobbies that you are genuinely practicing. Keep the tools you use somewhere easy to access, with a setup simple enough to begin within a few minutes. For hobbies that have stopped, choose one of 3 options. Schedule a specific time to practice, keep a small basic set within a firm limit, or give everything to someone who wants to begin. When you say that you will return to the hobby, place a real date on your calendar during the next month. Do not say, "When I have time." Choose a visible date. If that date arrives and you still do not want to open the box, you may be holding on to regret rather than the hobby itself. Trying something new still has value, even when you decide not to continue. An abandoned hobby may occupy only 1 box, but an imaginary life can quietly occupy your entire closet, dining room, and the highest shelves in your home. That brings us to the 8th category: supplies for parties, guests, or events that rarely happen. Many homes contain a set of dishes reserved for special occasions, dozens of glasses, several serving trays, folding chairs, tablecloths, and other items kept for the day when a large number of people visit. There is nothing wrong with preparing to welcome guests. Hospitality can be an important part of family life. But look at the relationship between the amount of space these items occupy and how often they are actually used. If your dining table seats 6 people and you normally invite only one small family, does a set of glasses for 20 people reflect your real life? Sometimes we store items for an idealized version of entertaining. Large dinner parties, a perfectly decorated table, and a separate object for every possible purpose. But these items occupy the space needed by the dishes your family uses every day, making daily items harder to take out and put away. Keep one flexible collection that can be used both on ordinary days and when guests visit. Choose trays, large bowls, and glasses that you are comfortable using regularly. When a truly large event occurs, you can borrow, rent, or temporarily add what you need. Your home does not have to operate like a supply warehouse for the largest event you can imagine. Being prepared does not mean owning everything before you need it. Sometimes it simply means knowing how you will handle the situation when it happens. The 9th category is decorations, small pieces of furniture, and household items kept for a future home. You may be keeping a lamp that does not suit your current room because you imagine that it will look beautiful in a larger home. You might own curtains that do not fit any current window but could fit somewhere in your next home. A shelf, a few pillows, or several decorations may be sitting in boxes because you have not found the right place for them. These items can easily follow us through several moves. They are protected by a story. When you have the right room, when the renovation is finished, or when you move to a larger home, these things will become useful. But an object with no place in your current home is still demanding that your current home provides storage space for it. Use the 30-day test. During the next 30 days, do you have a specific place where you will install or use this item? Do not answer, maybe in the living room. Identify an exact location. Do not say, after I redecorate. Create a plan with a clear timeline. If you have a real location and a plan, complete the task. Hang the picture, install the shelf, or begin using the object. If you do not, consider whether transporting, protecting, and storing it is worth the possibility that it may fit somewhere in the future. When your living situation changes, the size of your rooms and your needs may also change. Releasing an item that does not fit your life today does not mean that you are abandoning the home you hope to have. It means that you are no longer forcing your current home to serve as a storage facility for it. The 10th category may be physically small but emotionally heavy. Gifts that do not suit you. You keep a vase because a relative gave it to you. You do not use a set of cups, but you remember that the person spent a long time choosing them. A decoration that does not suit your home remains on the shelf because putting it away feels rude, while giving it away makes you feel guilty. But gratitude and an obligation to store an object are not the same thing. The gift completed part of its purpose when it was given. It expressed care, marked an occasion, or connected two people during a particular moment. You can appreciate that meaning without keeping every physical object forever. Ask yourself this question. If I were buying this item for myself today, would I choose to bring it into my home? If the answer is no, consider taking a photograph when the memory matters, keeping one representative item when it is part of a larger collection of gifts, or passing the object to someone who can genuinely use it. You do not need to turn your home into evidence that you appreciate the person who gave you the gift. The value of your relationship does not depend on whether the object remains inside a cabinet. The first 10 categories demonstrate that just in case is not limited to accidents or practical needs. Sometimes we keep things in case our body changes, in case a hobby returns, in case we host a large party, in case we move to another home, or in case the person who gave us a gift asks about it. But your space exists today. You are not throwing away the future when you allow these objects to leave. You are simply no longer forcing your current home to store every possible version of that future. Of the first 10 categories, which one is taking up the most space in your home? Leave a comment with just one number from 1 to 10. When guilt is no longer deciding what deserves to remain, we can clearly see another category. Things that are genuinely useful, but exist in quantities far beyond what we need. The 11th category is kitchen equipment with nearly identical functions. 2 blenders, several pans of the same size, and a drawer full of utensils when you always reach for the same few favorites. These items are not completely useless because each one is capable of doing something. They are often kept because one might break, another might be useful when preparing several dishes at once, or one day you might need that exact shape. But in daily life, you naturally choose the items that are easiest to use, easiest to clean, and most reliable. The others are pushed to the bottom of drawers, stacked behind better items, or positioned in ways that make your favorite tool harder to reach. You do not need to begin by asking, "Could I live without this?" Ask a simpler question. When all of these items are clean and stored in the same place, which one will I reach for first? That is the preferred item test. Place objects with the same function next to one another. Choose the item you always want to use first, and then determine whether the remaining objects have a truly distinct purpose. A small pan and a large pan serve different needs, but 3 pans of the same size, when 2 of them always remain at the bottom of the cabinet, may simply be making the best pan harder to store. For every backup you decide to keep, identify the exact situation in which you will use it. Perhaps you regularly cook for a large family on weekends and genuinely need 2 identical pots. In that case, both have a purpose. But if your only reason is, "I might need it," remember that the kitchen you use every day is paying the price for a situation that rarely happens. A kitchen that is easy to maintain does not necessarily contain very few tools. It places the best tools in the easiest locations, without surrounding them with too many less useful versions. The 12th category is backup towels, sheets, and blankets in quantities that exceed realistic needs. These items seem especially reasonable to keep. One set may be in the laundry. One may be ready as a replacement. Several may be reserved for guests. And a few older ones may be useful during an emergency. But because these items are soft, easy to fold, and apparently useful, their numbers often increase without anyone noticing. Old towels are pushed underneath newer ones. Sheets that no longer fit your current mattress remain in the closet. Guest blankets occupy an entire section, even though you have not had enough guests to use all of them in years. When you need to change the sheets or put away clean towels, you have to handle several unsuitable items before you can reach the things you actually use. A practical principle is to keep quantities based on your real usage cycle, not every imaginable situation. For each bed, many families find that 1 set in use and 1 clean set ready to replace it are enough. People with young children, pets, or limited access to laundry may need more. There is no perfect number for every home. What matters is that every set fits a bed that currently exists and fits neatly inside the space assigned to it. Keep the pieces of each sheet set together instead of storing pillowcases, flat sheets, and fitted sheets in 3 different places. You can fold the entire set and place it inside one of its own pillowcases to make it easy to identify. For towels, keep the ones that absorb water well, are easy to wash, and that you genuinely want to use. A few old towels can become cleaning cloths, but set a limit for that category as well. When the cleaning cloth drawer is full, adding 1 more cloth does not improve the system. The phrase, "I could use it for cleaning," should not become a reason for every towel that has completed its original role to remain in your home. The 13th category is not really kept because we might need it. These objects remain because we have not fulfilled a small promise we made to ourselves. It is the lamp that needs new wiring, the chair with a loose leg, the jacket with a broken zipper, the toaster that works sometimes and fails at other times, the picture frame that needs to be glued, and the bag with a broken strap that still sits near the door. Every item comes with the same thought: I will repair it. Because repairing something seems more economical and responsible than replacing it, we do not want to discard the object. But we also do not schedule the repair, order the necessary parts, or take it to a repair shop. It becomes a project without a starting date. These small projects rarely remain still. They move around the home. The chair is pushed into a corner. The jacket lies on a flat surface. The broken appliance returns to a cabinet and is occasionally removed so that you can test it one more time. Each time you see the object, you have to remember the same unresolved decision. This is where hesitation needs an expiration date. Choose one box or a small designated area for items that need repair. Every object entering that area must have 3 pieces of information: what needs to be repaired, what the next action is, and the deadline for completing it. If you need to purchase a part, write down the name of the part. If the object needs to go to a repair shop, choose a date. If you plan to repair it yourself, reserve a specific period of time during the week. The deadline may be 30 days. A more complicated item may receive 60 days. But do not leave the project open indefinitely. When the deadline arrives, you have 3 clear options: repair it immediately, give it to someone who wants to repair it, or allow the object to leave. The box is not a place for permanently storing broken items. It is a waiting area with an exit. This approach also works for items you cannot decide about immediately. You do not have to force yourself to make every decision in a few seconds. But you do need to prevent hesitation from returning to the cabinet and pretending that the decision has been resolved. The 14th category is leftover material from projects that have ended or were never completed. A piece of leftover wallpaper, several tiles from a bathroom renovation, paint inside small cans, pieces of wood, screws, fabric scraps, or extra hardware from furniture you have already assembled. Keeping a small amount of material for repairs can be extremely useful. An exact paint color or a matching tile may be difficult to find again. The problem is that we often keep every leftover piece without distinguishing between materials that may genuinely be needed for a repair and materials that simply remain after a completed project. Connect each material to a specific area of your home. If it is bedroom paint, clearly write the name of the room and the color code on the container. If it is a spare kitchen tile, keep a reasonable quantity and store the product information with it. If the items are screws or replacement parts for something you still use, place them in a labeled bag. Pieces that cannot be connected to anything, are not sufficient to complete any task, or have deteriorated during long-term storage may no longer qualify as backup materials. Be especially careful with the sentence: I could use it for another project. What project? When will it begin? Do you need this exact material, or do you simply feel uncomfortable throwing away something that remains? When there is no clear plan, keep a limited amount inside one general materials box. When the box is full, a new item can enter only after an old item leaves. You will still have a small supply of materials for repairs, but the leftovers from old projects will no longer spread into multiple areas of your home. The final category is consumable supplies purchased faster than you can use them. Toilet paper, laundry detergent, cleaning products, office supplies, canned food, personal care products, and anything you purchase in larger quantities because it is on sale. Unlike the previous categories, these things will almost certainly be used. Keeping extras can save time and prevent you from running out at an inconvenient moment. But I will definitely use it does not mean that the quantity needs no limit. When supplies are stored in several places, You are more likely to buy duplicates, use newer products before older ones, and forget what is hidden in the back. If a sale persuades you to purchase enough for 2 years, the small amount of money you saved may come at the cost of a cabinet that can no longer support any other activity. A simple Japanese-inspired system is to assign one area to backup consumable supplies. It might be one shelf in a cabinet, one section of the laundry room, or one basket for each product category. Every backup item must fit inside that area. When the area is full, you stop buying. You do not expand onto another shelf simply because a product is on sale. You can also create a reorder point. For example, purchase more laundry detergent only when you open the final bottle, or purchase more paper products only when the remaining quantity falls below an amount that will last for a reasonable period of time. The right amount will vary based on where you live, your budget, the size of your household, and your access to stores. Emergency supplies, medical supplies, and difficult-to-replace items should be evaluated according to your individual needs, not according to a goal of owning fewer things. A family living far from the nearest town may need more backup supplies than someone living next to a supermarket. The goal is not to reduce everything to the smallest possible quantity. The goal is to know what you own, use older products first, and keep your backup supply within the space you have chosen. Preparation creates calm because you know where the essential item is. Unlimited stockpiling often creates the opposite feeling. You own a large quantity, but you are not sure what you have, which items are still usable, or when you should purchase more. These 15 categories are different, but they all need one thing: a clear purpose, a clear boundary, or a date for making a decision. That is why the solution cannot be limited to grabbing a large bag and trying to throw away as much as possible. You need a system that distinguishes genuine preparation from an unfinished decision. A reasonable backup item has a clear purpose, location, and limit. If an item is protected only by the words, "maybe someday," put it through the 3-question test before allowing it to continue occupying space. You do not need to deal with your entire home this weekend. Tonight, begin with 3 small steps. Step 1 is to choose one area no larger than a drawer, a box, or a cabinet shelf. Do not choose the entire garage. Do not begin with the most difficult room. Choose a place where you regularly have to push things aside to reach something you actually use. Step 2 is to pick up every just-in-case item and ask 3 questions. What exactly does it replace? Is the possibility that I will need it realistic in my life? And when will I review my decision to keep it? An item with a purpose receives a permanent location. An item you cannot decide about goes into a waiting box with a review date. An item with no purpose or plan can leave. Step 3 is to establish a physical boundary. Backup items are allowed to occupy only one shelf, one basket, or one designated area. When that area is full, you do not create more storage. You use something, replace something, or choose the most valuable items to remain. This boundary prevents you from having to make the same decision every time you shop or organize your home. The available space becomes part of the system. One tidier drawer will not transform your entire home, but an item you use every day can return to its proper place, backup supplies can receive a clear limit, and one unfinished decision can finally be closed. A home becomes easier to maintain when the things you use can return to their proper places without unnecessary friction. If this approach helps you see your home with more calm and clarity, subscribe to The Quiet Home and watch the next video about preventing possessions from accumulating before they become another major organizing project. You do not need to prepare your home for everything that could possibly happen. You only need to let it support the life that is actually happening.